Dawn of the Dead.
28 days later.
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 Just hit me already! Stop!
Piece of cake.
Hey, dumbass, you're supposed to fall.
What they're fighting about, Night of the Living Dead was better.
As I have mentioned before, Fear itself was like a roller coaster with its ups and downs. You would have these amazing episodes showing you why the show needed its chance to shine, and then there were those that were a bit hard to sit through. So I thought that I'd kick off this review of the series by going through the lowest points of the show and moving on to the season's best episodes. So let's get this thing started with the most nonsensical episode entitled Chance. Chance tells the story of a broken, desperate man named Chance who becomes dangerously violent and possibly insane after realizing he won't get the money he needs for an old vase at an antique shop. A doppelganger soon appears to him and pushes the violence further. Now, on paper this sounds like a good idea, and one of the more darker themes that would have been present in the original Twilight Zone series. But the execution is just downright terrible. I mean, nothing makes sense or is ever explained at all. We don't know why our protagonist is in need of the money or why he's in the situation that he's in the first place. And to make things worse, other characters that interact with him, no less, and are quite possibly just as lost as the viewers. Mystery is great and all, and it can be a tool of suspense, but you got to at least explain something, or else the little of a story that you attempt to make makes no fucking sense. To add fuel to the fire, the actors in this episode, with the exception of the pawnshop broker, are simply painful to watch. This is a horror anthology series, so I'm not looking for Emmy award-winning acting here, but I'm also not looking to be insulted by a shitty attempt either. Dialogue also falls flat due to the episode's lack of explaining shit. All conversations consist of subjects that only the protagonist seems to know about. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is left out in the dust to wonder what the hell is going on and what the point of the backstory is to all of this. Then there is a doppelganger who brings some interest to the episode, but not much. His presence creates this situation where you begin to wonder whether he is real or the protagonist is crazed. On top of this, both characters walk the thin line between good and evil and sane and insanity, which is an interesting aspect but falls apart due to the creator's inability to properly tell the story. So we fast forward to 45 pointless minutes later, and Chance ends up going on a mini rampage for no actual reason, and the show closes off with the camera panning to his face as he smiles. What the fuck? I couldn't be more lost if I was blindfolded, tied, and left in a random location, I swear. Oh, and don't worry about heavier details of the story that I may have left out. I don't want to spoil any episodes for those who haven't seen this show yet, and even if I did add more details to it, it still wouldn't help to make any sense of this episode. Truly, this episode should have been called A Chance at Being Lost, because with that title, at least it would have made a little bit of sense, or at least a shred. The second episode of The Worst is entitled New Year's Day. Now this one really pissed me off because its premise struck a chord with me. This episode is about zombies, But not just any zombie, a mass zombie outbreak during New Year's. A young woman who wakes up with a hangover on New Year's Day. Alarms are going off all over the city. It is soon revealed that a cataclysmic event at a local chemical plant has turned a large part of the population into zombies, so the Walking Dead are running around everywhere. Gradually, as she wanders the city, Helen's memory of the previous night returns. I, for one, love zombie films, and I love them even more when they are ones about mass outbreaks, with a few survivors trying to escape or survive. I mean, this one had a classic premise, with just one normal person trying to make it through all of this chaos. To make things even better, one of the Saw directors, Daryl Lynn Bosman, was attached to direct the episode and even starred in it. Considering that I enjoy the Saw films and the director's independent zombie film, I was fairly pumped, and I was already excited to begin with, as the premise of this episode oozed of things I loved. But it would seem that I was set up to be excited only to be massively let down to the point of crying. The first problem with the episode is that it's heavily edited in the style of the Saw films, with the whole hyper editing and jittery camera movement. Now, with the Saw films, it works, and it's done in moderation, but in this episode it's done every minute or so, and acts as a substitution of fear instead of creating it or showing something scary. I mean, by the middle of the episode you become sick of this poor use of editing, as it simply becomes annoying. Another giant gripe was the zombies themselves. This is New York City, and during the entire episode you only see about 6 zombies. 6? That's it? Really? 6? In a city of millions upon millions of people during a mass infection, we see 6? Now, some folks may argue that it's a TV show and not a movie, so it can't display such a high volume of zombies. But I say bullshit to that, because The Walking Dead is going to be a TV show at the end of this month, and they have a horde of zombies every time zombies are involved in a scene, so having a proper and high volume of zombies isn't out of reach for a TV show. To make things worse, the zombies themselves are just pathetic. Fans of this miniseries have literally seen better use of VFX and makeup than this episode had for the zombies. They were just people who shuffled around, and some of them had tiny trickles of blood, but that's about it. There was nothing more to them. I mean, gee, that's really frightening. Cinematography is also terrible, as everything is shot in the dark or areas with poor lighting. Add to the constant camera jittering and shitty editing, and you rather just close your eyes to properly imagine something better, like getting hit by a car. Story and acting are solid, and the episode's open twist was a nice touch, but all the production failures of this episode just caused everything to fall flat. The potential for this episode was through the roof, and it just massively failed, making it the biggest letdown in the entire series. Well, that's it for this review of Fear itself. Tune in next time as we delve into the more moderate episodes.
Yo, don't bring that trash up in here. This is my house.